What's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, a brand new episode of macadii Muses. Well, what we're going to be doing is having a talk about the Smogon tier change for this month, something I want to start doing every single month because it's a great discussion, great to get your guys' opinion on it, and just a lot of fun as well, and really interesting to think about the theory behind it. So if you're excited for this, don't forget to hit the like button down below. I would really appreciate it. If we could get this to 70 likes, that would be absolutely incredible for the first time that we're going to be doing these sort of competitive analyses. So what there is in total is there's 9 Pokemon in total that we got to talk about. Going from UU, we're going to be working our way down to PU from there. So the first one we've got here is Gyarados, which has actually just been quick banned. I think it was within an hour of it going down to UU. It's just been quick banned. I think the arguments for it is the fact that it's obviously the defenses on this guy, which if you don't notice it first time, actually rivals Umbreon. I think the only difference is Umbreon has got 110 defense. And so it's only out by 1 point, which is just absolutely crazy. Access to Dragon Dance with 155 base power attack is just way too powerful for the tier. Way too bulky. And for that reason, they've decided to quick ban it, which I personally agree with. I understand Gyarados, because Gyarados has got a lot of shortcomings. You know, you've got to, you know, a little bit more limited in terms of its move pool. Because of the stab, you know, obviously flying stab with bounce isn't the best, whereas this guy gets crunch and dark stab and stuff like that, and water and dark is a, you know, fairly good offensive typing. So I can definitely understand why they've decided to ban this one. So we're not going to spend too much on this guy. We're going to move on to the next one. I'm really excited for this one. I think Alakazam is going to fare pretty well in this tier. He has moved down from OU to UU, which he had been down there a while ago, but obviously has been an up in OU for quite a while. I'm very interested to see how this one goes, because at the minute, UU is purportedly sort of very stall heavy, which obviously Alakazam struggles a lot with. So Alakazam is designed more for more offensive teams. Obviously, it does get access to Encore, but even then, it's still not the best against stall, and obviously with Blissey running around and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure how well Alakazam is going to work. Obviously, against offensive team, it's going to do absolutely fantastically. But apart from that, with the whole bulk that's going on in UU, I think it's going to be very interesting time for Alakazam to try and see how he will actually be fitted in that tier. Right, so next up we have got Hooper, which has dropped down from UU down to RU, which is really interesting, because when you have a look at it, it's actually got the stats for a fantastic wall breaker. 150 special attack, obviously very respectable SPDF and reasonable HP. Obviously the defense is slightly lacking, but what I think this is going to become quite useful for is actually breaking regenerator cores, because this guy just absolutely wrecks Slowking. It can do huge dents into Anima mode. If he specs this guy, it hits like an absolute truck, and while its speed is lackluster, it still has enough speed to actually be able to outspeed those sorts of cores. So I think it's going to be really nice for the tier, because it is going to put that slight pressure off regenerator cores and make them slightly less viable than they are at the minute, because they're such a pain to deal with in RU, and anything that reduces those regenerator cores is very nice for me, at least in my opinion. On top of that as well, I think it's fairly balanced, because there's quite a few different sort of dark types that are running around at the minute in RU. You've got obviously Skuntank's down in NU, but I have seen it reasonable amounts in RU. But the most notable ones are obviously Houndoom. You've got Sharpedo as well. There might be a few more ones. Let's have a quick peruse. Off the top of my head, I can't think of too many more. But oh, Absol as well. But you don't particularly see Absol too much within the tier. Drapion. So there's a lot of dark type potential here, which I think. Oh, and also Scrafty. So I think Hooper's going to be very good for the tier. Great wall breaker, but I think there's also a lot of mons in the tier that can check it, can pursuit trap it, and all that sort of thing. So I think Hooper's going to find its place here pretty well, and I can see it being a good member within the tier, where it's going to be good because it's going to be able to wall break a lot and hit a lot of things very hard. But on the other side of the coin, there's going to be a lot of monsters within the tier that can actually check it or just outright counter it. So moving on, we have got Omastar, which has dropped down from RU to NU. Now this is a Pokemon I can definitely see being suspect tested or possibly quick ban from the tier. Now you may be a little bit confused with this and go, why on earth is that? You know, the stats aren't the most impressive in the world, but I think it's the fact that this guy can run 2 very notable and very dangerous sets, which down in NU people could struggle a lot with. So the first thing is the access to every single type of hazard. You've got Stealth Rocks, you've got Toxic Spikes, and also you've got normal spikes as well. making this guy an absolutely great suicide lead. Obviously, weak armor with a sash or something like that, so you can just rack your speed up and just keep setting as many hazards as you can. This guy's got respectable defenses and okay-ish special defense, but especially on the physically defensive side, is really quite bulky on that side. On top of this as well, you may have noticed he also gets Shell Smash. Now, with 115 base special attack, and also the fact that with the speed, he tops out at 450 speed, which is absolutely insane in terms of speed. So he's going to be outspeeding, I'm pretty sure, everything in the tier outside of any Scarfers or anything like that. And also, it's the same thing with those defenses. He has definitely got the capabilities to be able to set up a Shell Smasher and quite a lot of different mons within the tier, especially some of the normal types and things like that, and just start sweeping from there. So I think he's just got too much raw power behind him. Base 115 special attack, especially at +2. Even if you made it timid, as you can see, 329 speed. So you're talking about a mon that could relatively easily get up to 450 speed and 660 special attack, which is just absolutely insane. You know, you could even run Life Orb on this. It depends whether you want to use the herb or not. But still, this guy just... It's going to be a very difficult guy to try and predict. They'll lead off with it, and you'll have no idea if it's a Spikes lead or it's a Shell Smash lead, or they could even save it to late game and just absolutely sweep through from there. There's no real defining, really powerful special walls that can actually handle this guy, as far as I'm aware, within the NU tier. If we have a look down there, you'll see there's a reasonable amount of bulk. I mean, you've got potentially Mega Ordino, but even then, Mega Ordino is still going to take a reasonable amount from a Omastar's Hydro Pump, because a Hydro Pump from that amount of special attack is just absolutely insane. And there's very few Pokemon, considering the fact he gets Ice Beam as well. Even Credilli just cannot handle it at all. There's very few special Pokemon, especially defensive Pokemon in the tier, that I think will be able to handle it. So I could definitely see this guy just going straight back up, or at the very least being heavily suspect tested in the near future. So next up we got Barbaracle, which has dropped down from BL4 down to NU. Now this guy's a really tricky one. I don't think he's as sort of broken in the tier as Omastar is, but he's in that really annoying stage where he's sort of not good enough for RU, but then he's too good for NU, and I could definitely see him he's just sort of lingering between those two tiers, which I find is a bit of a shame, because I like the design and I like the concept. It's just the fact that as a Shell Smash sweeper, he's just absolutely crazy. The fact that he has got that 105 attack, which, while Omastar does have more, Barbaracle has access to Tough Claws, which means he does get that basically a Life Orb boost from that, which is just absolutely crazy from a lot of his contact moves. Obviously, he doesn't get a Tough Claws boost for his stone moves, but he does get it for his water moves and things like that, which is really threatening. On top of that as well, when you actually have a look at his defenses, he actually has better defenses than Omastar. So he's actually got more potential to set up. A little bit less speed though, but I don't think in the long run, at +2, he's still going to be outspeeding most of the tier from there. On top of this as well, there's not many Pokemon having a look through the NU tier that can actually check or at least handle him. But basically, you've just got to try and OHKO him before he can really set up. The main exceptions I could possibly say is possibly a defensive Credilli or something like that, because he does not get any access to any good sort of physical ice moves, but you could potentially run him mixed. But then with 54 special attack, it's probably not the most efficient of sets. The Pokemon that I could definitely see becoming more useful at this stage will then be Polygraph, because Polygraph basically walls this guy. Barbaracle does get access to Grass Knot, but I don't think that's still going to be doing that much. A defensive Polygraph is basically probably the tier's best check, outside of maybe, I guess, Unaware Quagsire as well is another great check to Barbaracle. So he's difficult. I could definitely say, as I said, Omastar, I'm really sure Omastar is going to be out of here. But I could see Barbaracle sticking around for a while, and there are one or two reasonably good checks to it. It's a really hard one to call at the moment, but I think he is probably going to stay down the tier for a little bit of time. So the next one we've got is Charizard, which has dropped down from RU to NU, which I think is a change that had to be made. You just couldn't cut it in RU. He just, especially with those rocks weakness, I think in NU he's going to carve himself into a nice niche, because he's got the really good speed, which is nice. So he sort of faster than Magmortar, but doesn't hit as hard. But then obviously the Stealth Rock's weakness can be an issue. He does have the ability to run a Sun based move pool with the solar power there, which is really, really nice. So I could definitely see some more Sun teams and stuff like that being used down here, which I really like. I really like low tier Sun teams and Weather teams and things like that. So I think Charizard will be able to find his home here relatively well. He's got a good amount of power, as I said, with solar power as well. He can become a great wall breaker. 100 speed is definitely really, really nice. Potentially Dragon Dance and stuff like that. So overall, I think Charizard has finally come home. So moving on to the final 3 Pokemon. These are all Pokemon that have dropped down to PU, and I'm really, really happy with all of them dropping. The first one we've got is Prinplup, which is great. We now have a really nice water type that gives another reliable defogging option. He is going to face some competition with Swanna though, so I'm interested to see how that will work out, but he does give us a reasonable check to Pawniard, not in the same way Pelipper did. Rest in peace, Pelipper, but it's still a step forward. I think is probably the best way to go. He does have a pretty respectable move pool, which I think can be used, for his advantage down in PU. Obviously, physical options as well with Brick Break, which could make him the sort of potential answer to Bishop. Probably won't be hitting too hard though, so probably you're just schooled. Defensive wall is probably the best way to go, but it does give us some nice, some more bulk, which I think is going to be really, really nice in the tier. A Defiant user as well, so you could potentially run it like that, but I think, to be honest, the defogging set is going to be the best set for this guy to run, and probably the most common set that you are going to see. Tying into this as well, the next guy that we've got is Cryogonal, which I'm really, really excited for. I think it's going to be a great experiment to see how he works, because he's not a check to Bishop and he's not a check to Machoke. So I'm not 100% sure how well he's going to fare in the tier, especially when Machoke with Bullet Punch just absolutely wrecks this guy. Sucker Punch as well can just destroy Cryogonal with that base 30 defense. He does have that respectable Spadef though, so I could see him as more of an offensive spinner, but even then, he didn't work particularly well in NU, but I mean, he may find his niche in PU, but I can definitely see Prinplup getting a lot more love than Cryogonal does. So the final Pokemon to drop down to PU is the Anthro, which I'm really happy with as well. I think this guy is going to be really, really interesting. He didn't really have that sort of niche role up in NU, because you had things like Rotom, which was faster and could hit, relatively hard. You had a lot of very good electric types. You had Electivire to deal with, and I think with the lack of speed, he didn't have the defenses to pull off a bulkier set, whereas down in PU, I think he could really be good for bulky offensive teams that need a hard hitter. You could run him defensive if you want to. Base 115 special attack is going to make him hit really, really hard, which is really nice to see. And I think this guy is going to have a lot of potential. You could be running him a defensive set, Assault Vest set. Assault Vest can make him really, really nice. He does face competition though, because there is still a lot of Pokemon. You've got Luxray here, which obviously does give a great physically offensive build, or even a mixed build there, which Anthros just cannot offer. You've also got Zeb Striker, which obviously gives you a lot more speed. So I think he's gonna have to work hard to try and carve out a different niche. But I think he is going to be able to be there as a sort of very bulky, great special attacker, great pivot, and sort of work from there. So I think that's everything in terms of my thoughts on the tier changes. I know it was relatively brief, but I just wanted to give you my overarching thoughts, and I would love to hear your guys' opinions on this. So don't forget to let me know down in the comments what you think of the changes, and where you think everything's going to be in, say, a month's time. Are people think it's going to move up, or are they going to move down? And if you're excited, if you enjoyed the video and everything like that, don't forget to hit the like button down below. I would really, really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.